Not bad for a beginner. You've started a trend there. Now look at them all scrambling to jump on board.
Yeah, so welcome back to a nostalgia playthrough of Railroad Tycoon 2 Platinum Edition. And we're gonna keep pushing on for more gold medals, sir. And in a second...
Hello? You awake? Go ahead and select a map to get started.
Yeah, this guy is never gonna quit. So yeah, in the second scenario, we need to connect New York to Chicago and hold some cars between them. Now, you have several options here. Plus 20% steel revenue. The way I play this, I never need the steel revenue. I don't dabble with it at all. Plus 80,000. It's not really gonna get you that much. And once again, considering that we need to build a lot of track, 15% lower track building cost is by far the best choice to go for. Unless you want, I mean, you can do these things many ways, but let's just get to it and then I'll start explaining.
With the wheels in motion, railroads are emerging from everywhere. For every successful line, there are 4 bankrupt ones. Take advantage of the momentum you've managed to start, but beware of some of the more sinister deals that big money always seems to bring. And wipe your chin, you got some muck on it or something.
Now, there are many strategies to achieve gold on this scenario, as there are on many scenarios. Let's just read this real quick and then we'll get to it. After the initial connections up and down the East Coast, the next major goal of the railroad industry was to connect to the western states, then defined as anything west of the Appalachian Mountains. Your goal for a bronze victory is to create one continuous track connecting New York and Chicago by the end of 1870 and hold 8 loads between the two cities. For a silver win, your company's book value, equity, must also exceed 4 million. If you do both by the end of 1858, you will receive the gold. And the gold is what we are going for. So, real quick, we got Chicago over here. You can start constructing here as well if you want, and kind of like have some trains running in both ends. There's so many ways you can do this. The game really opens up a bit after these. I don't know, like you do have a lot of options within certain limitations in many of the scenarios, so there are many ways to victory. You just have to find yours. Now, one strategy could be to just kind of build up profits by building around these areas here, connecting Philadelphia and whatnot, and other areas here that have like more passengers, and run passenger trains here, make the money, and just neglect this area and just shoot out a single track, just pass it through to Chicago and start running trains there with the profits that you make in this area. Now, steel revenue plus 20%. I mean, I'm seeing no steel anything there. There usually is some steel mills, to be honest. It's a bit RNG with what you get. In Albany we get just connected 4 houses here, so supply of 1 mail isn't the greatest, but oh well, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna make enough money just going from New York to Albany, and we can connect to Syracuse as well and make some profits there. In my experience though, you can just run Albany to New York and just have a few trains going this way, and eventually you'll make enough money to be able to just expand west, and then you'll be good. Let's start off by issuing stock. We could have issued more stock in the previous scenario. I just forgot about it. You can do this once a year, but we didn't really need to anyway. And you can initially just issue some bonds. I'm just gonna see here. We got 262,000. How much would it cost to connect to Syracuse? 207,000. So I usually don't issue bonds very early in this scenario, but I think I'm gonna try a little bit different now. We're gonna go for these bonds. Alright, now I have 752,000. We're just gonna keep with the single tracks here, and you can just connect further on from Albany. It's kinda, as you see, it's kinda like expanded out from the station here, indicating that that's what you should do. And the map here has a good gradient for it, so you just connect to Syracuse through there. And the placement of the houses here was a little bit weird. There's like no room for a proper station, like there's one square in between if you run the track through the city. complete RNG on the layout on these things, so it's just luck of the draw. I mean, it's not bad or anything, but we'll do that, and we'll be able to get everything with a medium station, so we'll just get one of those. Now, let's see, New York and Albany. Well, New York has a roundhouse, Albany does not. That's fine, we'll go sanding water and roundhouse here in Syracuse. And so, we'll just set up some trains and start making money. Now we got the Stevenson Rocket, the John Bull, the Dewey Clinton, and the Prussian. Now, the Prussian has the best speed, but extremely poor acceleration. Not that these other trains are that much better. So we're gonna go with the Stevenson, or the Prussian, I mean. It's what I would recommend. Now let's just see. We'll touch on Albany later, I think. We can just run New York to Syracuse for now. In New York we can pick up... real quick, what was the different speeds on this actually? Yeah, I mean 4, we can hold 4. That's fine. So we go 4, 2 mail and 2 passengers from New York to Albany, to Syracuse, and just use Albany on this map, which is what the supply is in New York. Then we'll put in another train going from Syracuse to New York with 2 passengers. You can also smack on dining trains to increase revenue a little bit. So, increases the passenger revenues of any train it is attached to by 20%. If there are no passenger revenue, the dining car generates no revenue. Additional dining cars beyond the first offer no additional benefit. Also, you can't put on more than one anyway, so... You can also put on Caboose, which decreases breakdowns by 25% and train robberies by 75%. These are like the 2 utility cars that you have in the game. That I can kind of think of. Maybe there's more later, but I don't think so. And, well, we're not going to bother too much with this. It's, I usually don't go for them unless it's very specific situations. So we're just going to take what is available and we're just going to start sending that somewhere. And we'll take this from Albany to New York as well, actually. But we're not going to have that on our priority. We'll have these 2 trains on priority. Well, Train Class Express, as you can see in the lower hand side of the screen here. This train will pass any other non-express train. And you also have Stop, which will just stop it. And you have Slow, which means this train will yield to normal priority trains. So we're not going to dabble around too much with that. I just don't want this mail, single car mail train here to be stopping these other trains from making profit, because they're going to be our cash cows in this one. And we're just going to start running on, let's go 4. When these 2 trains meet, if we have money for it, we might want to expand to a double track between them so they don't stop each other from moving. We'll just see what our cash flow is by then. We might not be able to afford it. Just one thing you can do. Your recent connection to Syracuse has made businessmen in Erie anxious to have you connect the city of Erie to your line. As an added enticement, they have offered a bonus of 150,000 if you connect to Erie before 1855. And there's some other information. We're going that way anyway, so that's just a bonus we're gonna get. Now, we have a paper mill here, which we could get some pulpwood from these logging camps for, but it is entirely not necessary. We have a port here demanding goods on this scenario, and we have tool and die factory accepting iron, steel and aluminium for goods, and some other options. But we're going to stick to passenger. Passenger is a solid way to make money. Okay, this train is almost in New York, but it's going to stop here and yield to the other train. With 4 cars, it seems to be moving a bit slowly. This isn't exactly moving a lot faster, but it seems like maybe 3 cars is the sweet spot for speed on the delivery. And let's just quickly see, do we have any... New York is full of stuff right now. We're actually going to run another train from New York to Syracuse. So much mail. I mean, we're just going to be making a bunch of money, really. We can't actually afford that, but I mean 4 trains should be enough, to be honest, in this scenario. And it's easier to keep track of as well, since you have them all on screen here. We'll put this train on express as well, since it's well, it's got 3 cars. And we'll just stay with 3 cars. That seems to be fairly efficient speed-wise. Alright, your board of directors has suspended a dividend because the company's not in a financial yeah, the company's not in financial position to pay it. I feel like there should be an A there. It's not in a financial position to pay it. You may restore the dividend when things improve. Well, we're not gonna. It's a thing I should have put on 0 anyway, but it kind of happens automatically if you go in the negative, so it's not a biggie. And we got this New York to Albany train here, about to hit the station. And we're gonna load it with 2 mail. We'll go with 2 passengers, well, might as well. And, oh, I forgot to actually buy some stuff. No, I didn't actually. I thought I forgot to buy these things in Syracuse, but I didn't, so I'm all good. And we can keep moving on. The sooner you connect to Chicago, the better. Just keep that in mind. But you need a little bit of money for it, obviously. And things are going slowly with these trains, so we're gonna up the speed a little bit. Well, this guy is about to hit New York, and we'll make a little bit of profit from that. Before he goes back to Syracuse and hopefully makes us a bit more. Alright, as soon as it hits the station, we go in and we... Alright, so you can do the math like on dining. It gives another 20%. So, base cargo value for passenger on this map is 50,399. This might change with booms and recessions. I'm not sure about that actually, but so you do 20% of 150,000, which is 30,000. So in that case, it would pay more to have a 4th car, like it would pay more to have yet another passenger train than a dining train. But if you like, we'll go with 4 as the standard. It's a little bit more money. It moves a little bit slower, but it makes a little bit more money when it actually gets there, so should be fine. Actually, we have access to a new train, and we're just gonna replace our entire all our trains there. As you can see here, the Prussian compared to this is our first actual steam locomotive, I would say. It looks like you would think a steam locomotive should look, and the speed is so much better on this, acceleration as well, and it's actually cheaper to run, a little bit cheaper to run than a Prussian, and maintenance and fuel every year. So we're just gonna start replacing our trains, all of them. I don't care if we shell out the cash for that. Now I'm just doing this one way. There are many ways to do it, as I explained earlier, so you do it your way, but this is a way that I know for sure that works. Oh, this train's about to hit Syracuse, and as you can see, things are speeding up a bit, so that is good. There's a lot of trains hitting Syracuse now. That's actually not necessarily that ideal, because Syracuse doesn't have anything. Albany doesn't have much either. It's basically New York where the stuff is. I'm gonna just double track this, so these guys don't block each other. Hopefully I did this correctly. It's gonna stop that train since I built the track on it. But, yeah, I mean, we just managed not to have those trains collide there. In fact, I'm gonna double track up, and this might be wasteful, you don't necessarily need to do this. It's a personal thing. I like to double track up in, like, areas that I know the trains are gonna be running a lot to generate profit, so that the profit comes in a bit faster. Is it worth it in the long run? I don't know, I haven't really done the math, but I just like doing it. So we're just, between Syracuse and New York, we're gonna run double track, I mean. And we can soon enough now start to expand further. And the thing is, we don't really need to run trains between any more than these 3 cities, so this is fine. We could start connecting to Rochester and Buffalo and run trains there, but we do not have to. We're gonna wait for a little bit more money since we're not gonna be running those trains anyway though. And we're just gonna wait for money to roll in, and when we have a bit more, we're gonna start connecting west. Just gonna double check by when do we need to. Okay, so we need to haul 8 loads between New York and Chicago by 1858. So we in 10 years, and we definitely need to connect to Chicago before that because it takes the trains a bit of time to move across the map. So keep that in mind. If you want to go for gold, you need to have some extra time for the trains to do the thing. Investors are pleased with us. Doesn't really matter though. Personal network and all this doesn't come into play here. I forgot to check what manager we have. Now I'm not sure what this means. Actually, so if you know what this means, could you please let me know in the comments? Because I don't know. Company overhead, 10% cheaper. That's overhead. Oh, overhead. What is that though? Like, it doesn't really say anything. Minus 6,000 a year. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But here's a well-known manager, Thomas Crampton, from the last scenario. We should have just gotten him right away. I messed up a little bit there. There's so much to cover. I'm just trying to get it all, and inevitably I'm gonna miss a few things. So we're getting this guy again for the train speed. Steam 10% faster, acceleration 10% faster, trade-off, track maintenance 10% higher, but that shouldn't really be a problem. It's gonna be a lot better to get the goods to their destination faster, I believe. As you can see now, these move a lot quicker than the trains that we had earlier. The was that a Prussian? We'll just have this run in here. New York Flyer, new speed record coming in. And we'll just run it with like, fucking hell, we'll just take everything that's in New York. Well, there's another train coming in right behind us, so maybe not. We'll run 5 cars. It'll run 5 cars at, yeah, very, very good speeds. Wait, am I? Yeah, that's the one. Here's another thing I'll do real quick. We're gonna just put every one of these on normal priority because we want the trains going from across the map from New York to Chicago and Chicago to New York. We want them on express, so these trains won't stop them because those trains going across the map will make a lot more profit and are also key to winning the scenario. I just want to double check real quick. Did that stop all the trains? No. But the thing is, if you, I think, okay, so let's real quick check something. New York, no, okay, this train. So if we go like this, yeah, if you don't pause, if you leave the game running and you want to go from express back to like slow or normal, you have to click through stop, which will, if you're not paused, stop the train. So pause if you want to do that, to avoid having the train just stopping dead in its tracks. Okay, we're in New York now. I kind of missed this because I was talking, but we need to change the composition here. Put on 3 passenger cars, because oh no, there's no mail available. As I said, my English would be a bit faulty, and it is currently being a bit faulty, so I'm just gonna have to deal with that. It's unfortunately moving on to Syracuse already. And it doesn't actually change its there, it's changed its destination. So we can send it back to New York and load it up better. This train is in Syracuse, can pick up mail and 3 passenger, that should be good. Oh, I messed up again. It went back to New York and it didn't change. I don't know, I don't care. We're just gonna let it run ineffectively with 2 empty cars. It's whatever. Doesn't really matter on the grand scheme of things. It's just a little bit of mess up since I was a little bit distracted trying to illustrate something though. It happens, whatever. So, looking at, we can actually issue more stock now, because we can do that once a year. We can also issue bonds, but we're still on BBB credit rating, which isn't the best. Not the worst, but it isn't the best. Well, let's see here now. This train is going at 11 miles an hour. And this train at 29. Why is it going at that slow though? When 4 cars, 37 kilometers an hour. And these cars weigh less, so it's actually going to go faster than that. Okay, so that could have something to do with the difficulty, actually. I'm not sure about that. Oh no, it is possibly the turn here, because this... Yeah. So, when the train runs on a straight track, it will go faster. When it needs to turn, it will lose some speed. So that's something to keep in mind. You would like to keep your tracks as straight and with as few turns as possible. This was already pre-built though, and in many cases it's not really that big of a deal, so... Yeah. Whatever, we'll check out Albany here. This train's coming in, and we can just run the same setup again. And if we start expanding west right now, then we'll run into some issues with, well, not exactly, but a thing to consider is the fact that you will pay track maintenance for that track. And if it's just sitting there and you're not running any trains on it, well, last year our track expenses were, or maintenance expenses were 112,000. So these things can add up. Just, no, that's lifetime actually. Last year it was, I don't know, what year are we now? 35,000 a year. Okay, so it's not too bad, actually. It's not really something you need to be too concerned about, but it is what it is. What speed are we on? Let's go to 5. Let's make things happen, huh? Yeah, none of that really matters. I mean, we get notification that there are new managers on the overlay there as well, or the end turn screen, or whatever you want to call it. End of year report. But none of this is really anything that we want to go for right now. It is all whatever. Chicago offers $2 million to New York Central. Oh, I'm usually connected to Chicago before they offer that, so I am playing it slow. Alright, let's step it up. We're gonna go single track connection to Chicago, and we're gonna try to keep the gradient in the green. With not too many turns, but So, I mean, you can, quotation marks, terraform by laying track like this. Right, now we've changed the mountain. It's expensive to build a mountainous tracks, and this terraforming costs a bit, but it can lower the grade of the track. So, I mean, 2.1, it's not really a big deal. It doesn't matter at all. We're just gonna be running trains past that once, get to the finish line, and then win the game. So it's not a biggie. The first few missions are quite straightforward and simple. Unfortunately, that tool and die factory is blocking a better gradient approach here, so... Whatever, and there's gonna be some twists and turns, so you know what, we're just gonna deal with it. We're gonna connect Derry. Let's just put a sanding and water tower there for good measure. We'll also connect Buffalo and put a sanding and water tower there for good measure. You don't necessarily have to, but... And in Erie we might as well construct a roundhouse as well for good measure. And then we'll just continue down to Cleveland here. That's an okay gradient, we'll just pass by it like this. And then further down like this. We don't need to connect to Cleveland. We can, however, connect to Toledo. We don't need to do that either, so we're just going to keep on constructing straight here. And had we issued some bonds earlier, then I would already be in Chicago, but there was so much I wanted to mention, so... You know, $1.5 million in bonds probably will be more than enough. Oh yeah, we didn't even need... $500,000 would have been enough, actually. So we just repay those bonds. Like, that's not important. I'm just... You know, I'm just trying to illustrate a few things as I play through here. These first few missions, we don't really need to be that min-maxy on. And I'm just going to put a sanding and water tower station in the middle of nowhere here, just so that trains don't run out of either sand or water on the way. And now that we have connected Chicago, we can start sending trains between New York and Chicago. So let's just do that. Let's do 1 mail, 2 mail, 1 passenger. Yeah, we'll run with 4 cars. Just all stations, it's whatever. I don't want to micromanage if it actually gets there, so we'll just send them and they pick up whatever's available and go back. So, that's fine. Okay, we have a car, one train that isn't, whoops. Yeah, I bought one too many, but we're just gonna let, and now, let's get to our first trains actually. Now, I'm not gonna bother min-maxing these, so I'm just gonna set these up to run 1 mail, 2 passengers, all of them on all stations, the first 4 that we had. And that should be fine, it doesn't really matter at all. And then we're gonna repay all these things that we wasted a little bit of money on here. We lose quite a bit of money because it's, when you issue them, there's underwriting fees of 2% and interest rate is 10%, and you need to pay... I'll just issue stock real quickly. No, issue bonds one more time so I can show you that. So, repay, you will have to pay a repayment fee of 2%. So, writing fee 2%, repayment fee 2%. So you lose a bit of money on that. But, it's not a biggie. I mean, we can splurge the money around like that to illustrate these things, and we'll still be able to win this, no problem. We're just gonna set up another train. It can go like this, all stations, whatever, doesn't matter. And I mean, the trains are still just rolling in the cash, so you really don't need to get too fancy with this scenario. That should do. And we can speed up. And let's keep an eye on Chicago. As soon as there's a little bit more here, we can just send another train for good measure. And let's wait for one more thing, so we keep consistent on 4 cars. Ta-da! Oh, yeah, all stations, forgot that. And we've already won, it's just a matter of time. This is how you can do it. I hope I was able to provide you with some useful information. Maybe you learned something new, hopefully, on this scenario. I didn't play it optimally, but that's because I'm trying to convey a few pieces of information here. And you know, we're just gonna go for the super safe measure here, and just in case like 5 of our trains get robbed, we're just gonna go all crazy ham. But basically, the game is won. So let's just leave it running here. We'll just have it, we'll look at this place. We'll wait for the trains to arrive. I'll sit back in my chair and just look at this. Economy forecast, going prosperity. We can actually look at the annual report. Oh, and there we go. Train 3 has been robbed. So there actually is a robbery occurring. But that isn't a train that's going between Chicago and New York, so it doesn't matter whatsoever. Investors are ecstatic about the chairman's performance. We're doing pretty good here, I suppose, then. What was going to show? So, economy status is now normal. Or it was at the end of last year. And now it said growing prosperity. That's a different economy status. There's boom, there's bust, there's normal, there's recession. I'm not sure actually if there's bust, but there's quite a few. I think there's like 5 different, but I could be wrong on that. Right now, economy status prosperity at the end of this year. And so, we just wait for these trains to arrive, which could take a little while, and meanwhile we're just gonna roll in some money. Another year's passed, doesn't really matter what that says. Oh. Yeah, so this clapping is a bit loud. Possibly, I don't know, it kinda was when I went through and edited the last episode, but I forgot to put the trains on Express, but it didn't really matter, and we have the gold medal, and that took us 5 years or something in the game. So you can do this quite quickly. We're like 5 years ahead of when we needed to do it. Did we really just have 10 years? Either way, your grasp of railway details has set you apart from your fellow rail barons. No question who rides the rail of success. I'm just gonna quickly... we can just leave the game running actually, but... briefing, where was it? 1870 connection, and if you do both by 1858, right, so we started in 48, I believe. Either way, we did it. It didn't take too long. It's a fairly straightforward and simple scenario, and now these trains are just going to keep making money. and we had a train wreck. Well, we're not gonna deal with that, we're just gonna leave it be there. So I hope you enjoyed watching this, and if you did, maybe if you learned something for this, maybe consider leaving a like or subscribing if you'd like to see more of my content in the future. And if you got something to say, well, you know where to put it, down in the comment section. I kind of feel like I'm holding myself out a little bit saying these things, but oh well, it's YouTube. Either way, have a good one, thanks for watching, and you can catch me in the next one.